Hello. Hello. JoeHart here, person with disabilities, primarily invisible disabilities. Um, I've got a lot going on this week, as I guess I usually do, but I'm trying to do much more than I usually do. So I'm going to try to focus on these topics only and try to do it as punctually as I can. I have no idea how much time it would be. I have no idea. Uh, you know, when I was on Meerkat, I would take 45 minutes to say goodbye. So yeah, I have no idea. I am 20 to 40 to 60 minutes, I would hope, is what I can do, but I'm not sure. So anyway, this pertains to the NASCAR penalties. As you all probably know by now, my authority on NASCAR is Bob Pockris. He usually is the most accurate, the most punctual, the most everything. And his tweet came out at 12:01 p.m. So I think that's when it officially became known by NASCAR that they did the penalties. So whatever that is, that's 3 hours and 55 minutes. Almost 4 hours ago, it was announced by Bob Pockris that NASCAR's penalties. And his previous Twitter tweet was 11:46. So nothing was going on at 11:46, and then everything came at 12:01. So I will probably start by reading all of Bob Pockris's tweets, and thank you very much, Bob. Also, I guess, by the way, I would like to say thank you for all the live viewers of my Twitter, of my stream. Thank you for the comments, especially. I love all comments, but you can be a spectator and a viewer and a watcher and all that stuff, and some people use anyway. I'm not going to use that word. So yeah, you're all welcome. I prefer comments, and especially what platform you're coming from. I'm streaming right now on my laptop through StreamYard, but I can go up to 8 destinations. I've been doing 6 for a while, but I've been trying to do 8 recently, but I'm always having problems with Twitter, and I haven't replaced it for a new 8 one. So for the last couple of weeks, I would try 8 and succeed at 7. So I'm streaming to 7 streams. So I just wanted to shout them out. Anyway, thank you very much for. Let me turn on. No. Sorry, I'm going to type something in, and that when I type one thing, it goes to 4 locations, or at least 3. Yeah, there's 4. So it goes to I just typed YouTube, so it goes to Facebook page, JoeHart Invisible Disabilities Advocacy, YouTube Francis Assistant, that's my backup channel, JoeHart PwD's, that's my main one, and then over in Twitch I'm JoeHart 2. And so those all came up to the Nightbot where it says, please subscribe to my primary channel, JoeHart PwD's 8641, and my backup channel, Francis Assistant dash NK1GC. So that's Francis Assistant dash Nancy Kevin 1 George Charlie. So thank you very much for that. And that's my YouTubers. And then Twitch, of course, they're just slow and steady, and they always they're dependable. I'm trying to learn about Twitch. I don't know much. I'm not a gamer and I'm not young, but I'll try to figure it out. And in Twitter, as I say, there's StreamYard and Twitter are just not compatible. They both say it. I've talked to both their tech support. I tell them I'm a person with disabilities, and then I make reasonable requests for ADA accommodations, and I'm not, at least it doesn't appear that I'm receiving them. So that usually turns into, I'm an advocate, so I try to push it with the law, etc. So anyway, thank you to those 7. If you can make comments here, I'd appreciate it. If you can make comments on the resident, at Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff, that'd be good too. But anyway, just thank you to all of you. So anyway, I'm going to go to Bob Pockris first. Let me click on that. So, and this is Twitter. So I'm going to go present Share screen. And Bob Pockris on Twitter. So I've scrolled down. We'll get back up to the top, and then I can show you his profile. But that's let's see. So I'm on screen. Y'all can see me on screen, and I can see me on screen. But I'm going to go full screen in case y'all want to read what I'm seeing. So I'm going to go full screen layout. So I'm off screen for you. Let me get rid of those banners. So and then I'm going to go off screen for me so I can read it. So I'm going to just scroll up all his penalty stuff. So this is the first one. As you can tell, it's March 15th at 12:01 p.m. This is Bob Pockris's first tweet about NASCAR penalties. And right now it is exactly 4 hours ago. So it says, sorry, I have a dry mouth and a wet mouth at the same time. Bob Pockris. NASCAR penalties. NASCAR docks all Hendrick drivers except Elliott and Berry, who doesn't earn points in Cup, and teams 100 points, 10 playoff points. Hendrick crew chief suspended 4 races and fined $100,000. Same penalties for Haley. I will get into that later, but he drives for Colleague. And I assume that means Colleague buys stuff from Hendrick, and so they had the same Louvre or whatever, Louvre. And then a separate topic, Denny Hamlin docked 25 points and fined $550K. I'm quite upset at Denny Hamlin, but we'll just focus on Hendrick mostly. So that's his first. And then it says, the question for Hendrick, if they appeal, do you start Gustafson's suspension now since Chase is out and not wait for an appeal to be heard, which is probably a good idea. You know, Chase is out, so Gustafson is not as critical because he can't do miracles with Josh Berry. So he could start the suspension just in case the appeal does not work. And then the next one there, Randy says, is this for the Louvers? I don't know how to pronounce that, but I think it's Louvers. And Bob says, yes, the penalties for the Louvers. And then Bob Pockris. Points penalties can be big because in addition to 10 playoff points initially, could impact regular season standing and the playoff points that go with that. And then this is a pretty critical Twitter. This is like the third most important for me. It is the biggest combined fine to one organization in NASCAR history. NASCAR has issued bigger fines for individual violations, but a $400,000 combined fine to one organization is the largest. So let me go off stream to see if there's any comments go back on anyone. Then look, so I'm going to go back. So this is my second most important. So it says down here toward the bottom, it says, if I did math right, Alex Bowman drops from 1st to 23rd in the standings, William Byron from 4th to 29th, Kyle Larson from 5th to 32nd, Haley now 49th in points, which he has negative 40 points. Wow, negative. And then Chase Elliott actually moves up from 29th through 26th. I think my numbers are going to be slightly off of those by 1 because it's confusing. So he may be right or wrong, and I may be right or wrong. I would never say I'm 100%. It's challenging to say that. So one thing to note, Denny Hamlin's penalty is only driver's points, 25 points, no penalty to owner's points. Well, of course, Joe Gibbs Racing had nothing to do with Denny speaking out of turn, as we might say. And then Bob Pockris, 3 hours ago. Also, as expected, 2 crew members, not the crew chief from Eric Almirola team, suspended 2 races for wheel coming off because it was loose and not installed properly. A bolt rubbed into the wheel and caused it to break. Anyway, I probably would have passed on that because I'm trying to focus. As long as compete in all races or get a waiver, drivers in playoffs with wins, unless more drivers than spots than regular season points, determine tiebreaker of those with more than 1 win. But regular season points matter because playoff points to top 10 and final regular season points. That's a little convoluted. I probably I will understand that if I read it 3 or 4 or 5 times, but I'm going to go on. So Haley's team had their louvers taken on Saturday. So I guess Hendrick's 4 louvers were taken on Friday, and then I guess I don't know about Colleague Racing, but I guess Colleague buys stuff from Hendrick, probably louvers, I guess. So anyway, and then Bob talks about Elliott and Barry. Elliott is not penalized driver points or playoff points because he wasn't entered for the race at Phoenix. Barry is not penalized driver's points or playoff points because he doesn't earn cup points. I like that he clarified that. I knew the situation. Now this is Elton Sawyer. So let me go back, see if there's anybody any comments and stuff. I will probably go ahead and show this. I don't think it's the end of the world to see this. So this is NASCAR talking. Wow, it's 1 minute and 26 seconds. Sorry about that. So let me see. So I'm going to go. Okay. So I'm going to go full screen for
look at that. We're going to get involved in those situations. We've been consistent and we've been individual, right? They're unique to themselves and individual, right?
Okay, 1 minute 26 seconds. This is Elton Sawyer, VP. I'll read that afterwards. Sorry, he's a big wig at NASCAR.
Individual, right? They're unique to themselves, and when you look at this one this past weekend, we would have viewed that as a racing incident. But then, as 24 hours later, have a competitor that has gone on a podcast, which I will say we're delighted that Denny has a podcast. We think that's great, interacts with the fans. But when you start admitting that you have intentionally done something that would compromise the results of the end of the race, then that rises to a level that we're going to get involved. There's no other way to look at that. We're going to get involved in those situations. We've been consistent in the past with that, and we will be consistent.
So yeah, I'm that's about halfway. Remove. Let's see here. Access. So anyway, yeah, that's Elton Sawyer. Like I said, I'll read his name and title when this is over. But anyway, I just wanted to, it seems to so far mostly be about Denny. Again, similar topic, and it's in my description. I definitely say NASCAR penalties, Hendrick, Haley, and Denny. So Denny's in there, so we can talk about it. But I wanted to really focus on Hendrick and the 3 drivers dropping so low that Chase Elliott, who's been out of 2 races, is almost, he's not quite, I won't mislead people, but he's almost the highest ranking Hendrick driver now after these penalties. Now, as we know, as of like 3 and 4 and 5 years ago, NASCAR penalties were never overturned. So some teams, it was probably 50-50. 50% of the teams appealed, even though they knew it would never do anything. And then 50% of teams would say, just give us our penalty. It's never overturned. Now, starting a year or 2 or 3, there started being examples where it was being overturned. And I think it's been overturned 3 times the last 2 or so years. And I think 2 of the 3 are Hendrick. So, I get a little nervous about that. Are they the golden child of NASCAR? I don't know. But now I can recall one of them for sure. William Byron kind of did what Denny did. He intentionally wrecked someone and he said it on the radio. It was in the heat of the moment, but he was very calm. But on the radio, he said what he was going to do, and he did it. So same thing. NASCAR heard it, so they had to do something. So they penalized them. And and it was huge. I forget what it was. 100 points, $100,000. I don't know what it was. They all sound the same after a while, but it was a penalty, and then it was overturned. So he went back. He was probably 4th, and then he went down to 25th or whatever for the points, and then he went back up. So I don't think they're going to overturn this, but I think most of NASCAR thought the same back then too. So that will be interesting. Anyway, let's go back. I'm going to do full screen layout, and then I'm going to go off screen so I can finish this. So we're about halfway. Yeah. 41 seconds left.
Going forward. I think if you look at it from a 30,000 foot view and you look at our athletes at the highest level of motorsports in North America and sending the message that it's okay to tell somebody that I'm going to wreck you and then do that, that's not the message that we need to be sending to, to anybody. For sure, we don't need to be sending that to young drivers that are starting out and lower levels and inspire to be at the NASCAR Cup level, in some period of time. That's not the message that, we need to be sending.
So thank you. So let's see here. Exit full screen. So I'm going to go back and exit full screen for it too. Okay. So so I'm going to read. I think there's a video above this, so I'll probably read the paragraph first. I got so excited about the so I'm going to let's see here. So let's see here. So let's go full screen layout, and then I'm going to go off screen to you all too. So okay, that was NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer said that Denny Hamlin admitting he wrecked Ross Chastain on purpose forced the sanctioning body to act. He said they would have looked at it as a racing incident otherwise. Amen. Of course it, I mean, what it. And I think I'm going in the correct chronological order. But anyway, it says NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer said it was obvious that the Hendrick cars had louvers modified in areas that weren't approved. And this is 150. I forget what but same thing. Let me okay, so let me go. No, not too much action here.
The garage on the left.
So it's 155. So I might do about a minute and then a minute or something like that. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and watch this. It's 155, and then we can go from there. And this is about Hendrick.
Basically, as we mentioned at Phoenix, this is in uncharted waters. We, from time to time, we'll capture parts, we'll bring them back. And as we continue to investigate and look at parts and comparing parts, it was obvious to us that these parts had been modified in an area that wasn't approved. This is a consistent penalty with what we went through last year with, with other competitors, the 6, the 34. So we felt like, to keep the, the garage on a level playing field, the competition level where it needs to be, all the dialogue that went around this car last year, working with the owners on what the deterrent model should be, we were put in a position that we didn't feel like there was no other way but to write a penalty.
Yeah, Elton, can you give us any idea of what area of?
So, okay, that was a little less than half, but then Bob was asking another question, so I wanted to pause there. As some of my viewers that have been sending me a lot of Discord links and things to check out and stuff, which has been greatly appreciated. That's been incredible. A couple of their opinions were that, they're not young and they used to follow motorsports, but they didn't until, recently as much. So they still are from the old school of thought of NASCAR. And I'm going to butcher the phrases, but something along the lines of, if you're not cheating, you're not racing, or, those kind of things. And, maybe that was true with old NASCAR. I don't think it's as true. I'm not going to say all the crew chiefs are saints. I think they're always pushing it to the boundary. Everybody, we're talking about hundreds of seconds and thousands of seconds. So everybody's got to push it to the limit. But one person in particular was like, oh, they're cheating. They found this part, but the 1,000 parts they haven't checked, everybody's cheating on. So I'm not a big proponent of that, but I can see where they're coming from. It used to be what NASCAR is, but we're not, we're not the NASCAR of your fathers, and we're not the NASCAR of your grandfathers. It's just not that way anymore. NASCAR's, putting the hammer down and blah, 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 blah. And money means nothing. Points means everything. Or, points can mean everything, which I'm going to go over as far as how it affected the 4 drivers, or, 5 drivers and 4 cars. Golly, I forgot about Haley. So 6 drivers and 5 cars. So it's affected quite a few of them. I'm mostly concerned about amazed at the 3 Hendrick drivers that were penalized. Chase wasn't, because he wasn't entered in the race. But okay, so let me go back. A full screen layout. And hopefully this will go for a minute. 59 seconds.
The louvers were modified.
The way, but to write it down.
Yeah, Elton, can you give us any idea of what area of the louvers were modified?
The area they weren't supposed to work in, Bob, is the best I can tell you there. There's areas again that has been approved, and we've worked with the teams on the parts to be able to get them on their fitment and things of that nature. Again, this one rose to a level that was way beyond that.
And I mean, obviously, a single source supply part is not supposed to be modified, but is it safe to say that any modifications to the louver could impact downforce?
We don't normally get into the intent, but I think it's fair to say that there was performance, could be performance around these modifications. But let's also give credit where credit's due. They went out and still had an outstanding race on Sunday and performed at a high level without those modifications.
Okay, so we did that. Sorry about that alarm. Hold on one second. Let me let's see here. So let's I'll go off screen, make that smaller screen. And then I'll stream up. So that's Corey LaJoy. Live in case you missed my notice. I'm making good points. Not your points. Okay, so sorry about that. I just needed to get something done there. So again, welcome to all the live viewers and spectators and watchers and listeners. Feel free to make a comment. I'd love to get some interaction, what you think about Hendrick and Haley's penalties for the louvers and Denny's penalties for intentionally wrecking Ross and then admitting it. And I might scroll up. Let me go off screen, and I'm going to scroll up to the top of Bob to see how many more there are, because I don't really. I'm not too interested in Corey LaJoy. I mean, he does have a podcast, and he's usually brutally honest, but usually he's 45th. So no one, okay, 35th. And people aren't as concerned about him. Although he is, he's online, he's a pretty big deal. In the race, he's not a big deal. So anyway, I let me scroll up and see what else there is there. So I'm going to go off screen. Let me stay here. So I'm going to go full screen layout. Now I'm going to go off screen so I can't see comments and you all talking and stuff. So I'll read what it says. So Bob Pocker says, before the penalties were announced, I asked Corey LaJoy if a possible Denny Hamlin penalty would impact what LaJoy, also a podcaster, albeit on a NASCAR one, that would likely keep him from saying something that would get him penalized, says in public. So, yeah, if it's a NASCAR podcast, then, he probably limits. He's pretty, Anyway, so up here, Bob Packra's Hendrick issued largest combined fine in NASCAR history. Docked points, NASCAR on Fox, and blah, 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 blah. Hendrick will appeal. Hendrick will not ask for a deferral and crew chief suspensions for this weekend at Atlanta, but will, wait a minute. Hendrick will not ask for a deferral and crew chief suspensions for this weekend at Atlanta, but will appeal the penalty. So that sounds like all four of them will miss this weekend. I think that's what the deferral means. Also from, so I'm coming back on, what was that one? What did I just? Shorts. I'm going to just see how this works. This is just a test. And I type once and it types 4 times, and I'm sure it will come up. So yeah, it goes to. So I just created this. So it has no links. I didn't do the proper links yet. I was just getting it set up. It's the way I have to do things sometimes. If I wait for me to perfectly do it perfectly, it won't happen most likely. So I have to continue doing partial. Anyway, so Nightbot says, please watch the new YouTube Shorts, Facebook page Reels, and Instagram Reels at YouTube, Facebook page, and Instagram, respectively. Links to come. Appreciate it. Thanks. That's fairly new. I think it's fairly new to StreamYard, but I'm learning from StreamYard how to do some stuff. That's really abnormal for me. It usually takes me weeks and months and years to learn stuff, and I'm not a doer, so I usually don't do it. So this whole process is blowing me away. And it's thanks to a couple people, one in particular, but they don't notice me and they don't know how much of a big effect they have on me, but I wish they did so we could talk about each other. But it is what it is. I hate that phrase. So anyway, but I'm starting to do a lot of shorts, and so that would be pretty cool if you could. I want to get the links there, and so you can watch them. But they're on my 2 YouTube channels, and then they're on a Facebook page, which is on here, and then Instagram is not a choice to do a live stream. The thing I'm doing right now on StreamYard, Instagram is not a choice. So you can't go to Instagram for a live stream, but you can go to Instagram for whatever they call it, Instagram Reels. So I'm I tested it, and then I did, so anyway, I think there's 4 or 5 right now. So I'm pretty impressed with what I'm doing, which is kind of cool. I'm impressed. I don't like that word either. But anyway, I'm relieved that I'm actually doing the work. I'm like, oh my goodness, good job. I'm just not a doer. So anyway, so I'm going to go back off screen, full screen layout, and then I'm going to go back off screen so I can read it. So, okay. Also from Hendrick, NASCAR identified louvers on our race cars during a voluntary inspection 35 minutes after the opening of the garage. Also from Hendrick, NASCAR identified louvers on our race cars during a voluntary inspection 35 minutes after the opening of the garage and prior to on-track activity. NASCAR took possession of the parts approximately 4 hours after with no prior communication. I don't know why they have to. NASCAR can do whatever they want. They can. Charlie Doby, what's up, Charlie Doby? Hey, Charlie. I think I saw you. Yeah, I think I, saw you a couple of days ago, but I didn't. I think I asked you if you follow motorsports or if you have a driver, and I don't know. I am good. You are good. You're good. Okay, cool, Charlie. So anyway, I'm just going over the NASCAR penalties, especially Hendrick, but we're also going over Haley. He was affected by the Hendrick situation, and then Denny Hamlin is a separate situation. But I'm trying to go over all of them. We're starting with Bob Pockris, so I'm gonna get back to that. Let me. But it's good to see you, Charlie. Sorry, I'm something in my throat. I need lozenges. Sorry, I'm back. Sorry if that was too loud. So, yeah, I'm trying to keep this fairly punctual. I've got a bunch to do tonight with the March Madness basketball, and I have a bunch to do with and I still wanted to do 3 more shorts about Formula One teams and all that stuff. So I'm trying to keep this fairly punctual, fairly on topic. That's an impossibility for me to stay on topic, but I try. Or, I try or whatever. I know people are like, there is no try. Either you do or you don't. I'm not a big proponent of that, but I understand where they're coming from. So let me get something in here. Okay. So I'll just have that in my mouth for a little bit just to help. Okay. So I'm going to go to full screen layout and then go off screen and continue reading. I'll go full screen layout and then I don't think, sorry, I had that on for too long. I don't think I need it. Okay, so let me do full screen layout and then that, so you can't see me. I'm off screen for you, but now I'm going to go off screen for me so I can't see comments and people coming and going. I'll keep continuing to read Bob Pockris. So, yeah, I read that. Now, this is a big, I'll see if it's too wordy and stuff. So Hendrick will appeal based on that the louvers supplied to them did not meet specs and they were not raced. That's going to be a hard sell. Either it's been modified or not modified. They're a single, I don't know what they call, single source supplier. Most of the parts on a NASCAR Cup Series car is supplied by one supplier. So it's supposed to be exactly the same when it gets to the car team's location. That's going to be a hard sell. But anyway, let me see what this says and see if it's too wordy and stuff. So let me say that again. Hendrick will appeal based on that the louvers supplied to them did not meet specs and they were not raced. Louvers provided to teams through NASCAR's mandated single source supplier do not match the design submitted by the manufacturer and approved by NASCAR. Documented inconsistent and unclear communication by the sanctioning body specifically related to louvers. Recent comparable penalties issued by NASCAR have been related to issues discovered during a post-race inspection. I don't know why they're going out of their way to, anyway, they want to help their situation. So, any idea who the crew chiefs will be? Greg Ives and Kevin Meandrin would be 2 that I think could fill in. Has NASCAR specified how and what was wrong with the louvers, or if and when they will? I specifically asked Elton Sawyer, which we just saw, specifically asked Elton Sawyer what they did, and he would not say. They often don't because of the pending appeal. My guess is the edges. This is qualifying order for Atlanta. This is NASCAR on Fox, and Bob retweeted it. NASCAR hammered Hendrick Motorsports for modifying air deflecting pieces by docking all of its Phoenix drivers and teams, minus Josh Berry, 100 regular season points and 10 playoff points, and suspending each of their crew chiefs for 4 races each, and finding the crew chiefs $100,000. And of course, that's not Chase Elliott because he wasn't entered into the race. Hendrick issued largest combined fine in NASCAR history, docked points. So, I'm having trouble staying. So sorry, I need to, let's see here. Hello, I'm back. So I'm going to go off screen, and yeah, that I got messed up a little bit there. So I'm going to go back to Bob Pockrass. And now that I've gone there again, it should have what's it called? Refreshed it. So let's see here. Not the top, not the pinned. Colleague 1, 2. Okay, so let me go back. It looks like there's 2 or so. Sorry. So yeah, I don't know what happened last time, but so updated Cup grid. I guess those are in order. Is Harvick really number 1? Harvick, Chastain. I'm not sure why Harvick is number 1, even though he has no wins. Usually the wins are top. But Harvick, Byron, Busch, Stenhouse, Chastain, Bell, Blaney, Truex, Suarez, Logano, Keselowski, Buescher, Hamlin, which is down, 12th. Wallace, Cindric, LaJoie, McDowell, Reddick, Allmendinger, Austin Dillon, Gibbs, Briscoe, Amarillo, Bowman, which is 23rd. Preece, Jones, Elliott, 26th. Burton, Gilliland, Byron, 29th. Gregson, Ware, Larson, 32nd. So that second tweet, that second tweet. So now I believe his numbers. I think mine were different than his first tweet, but now he's got them anyway. But as you can see in the second one, that shows all the Hendrick. So Bowman is 23rd, Elliott 26th, Byron 29th, and Larson 32nd. Now, what blew me away is that, and it's not as extreme as I think it could be or should be or whatever, but I was blown away that Chase Elliott, being out of 2 races, and he didn't get the penalty because he wasn't entered into the Phoenix race, but Elliott is almost the highest ranked Hendrick, even though, well, I mean, Byron is way up top because he won 2 races. But as you can see here down at the bottom, Byron is 29th. But he's really second. It's kind of weird with wins because you always revert to the top. So anyway, Bowman 23rd, Elliott 26th, Byron 29th, really second, and Larson 32nd. Anyway, I just think it's pretty wild that Chase, after missing 2 races, Chase missed 2 races and William Byron won 2 races, and he's almost the top person of that team. Now, one thing I always like to, I've talked about this once before, but I guess I want to talk about it again. As far as NASCAR penalties go, my experience or understanding or whatever is that 3 or 4 or 5 years ago and back, NASCAR penalties were never overturned. And if I had to make numbers, I'm a numbers guy, but I don't know this at all. I'm just blindly guessing. But back then, I would say probably 50% of the time the teams appealed, knowing heck is sure that it won't be overturned. And 50% say, just give us the penalty. We know it won't be overturned. 2, now the last 1, 2, 3 years, there's been, I think, 3 overturns, which is a lot. From 0 for decades to 3 in just a couple of years is a lot. And I think 2 of the 3 are Hendrick. I know for one, William Byron is at the front of my mind, where he did something similar to Denny Hamlin. But he was in the heat of the moment. Denny made his uninformed statement days later when he's calm, or, a day later when he's calm. But, or I don't know when he spoke. It was enough time later for him to be calm. William Byron is in the heat of the race, and he said what he was going to do, and he did it, and then he said what he did do. So same thing. So it was, all the penalties sound the same to me, and they always like, this is the world's biggest, since whatever. But so I couldn't send text, and now I can send text. And Xfinity Mobile, who, helped me with that, now they're sending me text. But I couldn't get them before. But now they're sending them. So anyway, so William Byron got a pretty significant penalty and significant points and stuff. And it was like, OMG, the sky has fallen and it's the end of the world for him. And then, 4 days later or 12 days later, appeals, they try to do appeals pretty quickly. So Liza Bell Rowe, how you doing? Liza Bell Jean. So they try to do penalties pretty quickly and punctually. And, they try to, if they're going to appeal, they want to do it pretty quickly. So, again, no one expected those 3 to be overturned that had been overturned. And again, it's not many. I mean, again, prior to that, for decades, no overturns. In the last 1 or 2 or 3 years, there's been 3 overturns. That's, 10,000% increase. Hi, Liza Bell Jean, how are you? Thank you for being here. Please take, anyway, we all have to take care of ourselves. And I give people heads up, but I'm not like, So anyway, just everybody take care of themselves. I want everybody to do all that stuff. So anyway, I don't think it's going to be overturned, but I and the rest of NASCAR didn't think those 3 that were overturned were going to be overturned. So who knows? So these are huge points differences. But so anyway, let me I'll do a little review here. I'm going to go back to Bob. Let me see if that's up right now. So okay, yeah, let me go back to Bob's. So let me stop screen, present, share screen. Bob Pockris on Twitter. And so this is Bob Pockris, my authority of NASCAR. If you want to know anything and everything about NASCAR, please follow him. He'll tell you everything. He's great. He is great. He's great. He's efficient. He's effective. He's always right. Whatever. He's human, but he's very efficient. The people that are staying in the hotel for the next 4 races could be a problem. The people that are staying in the home. You mean the substitutes? Are you talking about the substitute pit crew? Yeah, it's a funny statement, but I don't quite totally follow it. So, all 4 teams, their crew chiefs have been suspended. Usually when they appeal, they usually say, all crew chiefs can come to the race until they do the appeal. And that just postpones the 4 races that they miss. But they wrote something about Alex Gustafson. Alex Gustafson's a great crew chief, and he's Chase Elliott's crew chief, but he can't work miracles with Josh Berry. So there was talk. I mean, Bob Pockris said, should they start his penalty right away? Yeah, the crew chiefs are really important. They're but the people that are staying in the hotel for the next 4 races could be a problem. And I mean, for sure, crew chiefs they're the boss. They are not getting that change. Oh, they're not going to get the overturn. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I was just throwing information out. Just it's an important part of the situation, and it crossed my mind, and so that's why I brought it up. I mean, if I had a Bible, I would put my hand on it and I say, I know effing well that will not be overturned. There's no way in heck. And I would have said that for the 3 things that were overturned. They're new. The appeals board became new people, and they were different. They were just different people. They used to be old curmudgeons that were retired, everything, retired owners and retired. They were old curmudgeons. They would never change. And they have now changed some of the appeal board. So now it becomes this, oh no, is it really gonna? So I do believe, I think someone said NASCAR would be running in circles, to paraphrase someone, would be running in circles if they appealed it. So yeah, I don't think they're going to change it, but who knows? I now have, my brain now is overwhelmed, so I don't want to, I'm probably now currently right this minute operating at about a 50% efficiency. So I wouldn't say everything I say will be perfectly correct, but I do believe that when there's an appeal, the default is that everything stays the same until the appeal. So all the crew chiefs, all the everything stays the same until the appeal is had and heard and decided, and then they're penalized for 4 races. And it they try to do it pretty quickly, so I don't have any guesses. I'd say maybe a week or 2, at the most, and then so that it's probably just 1 race delay before they have to start doing it. And then Bob Pockris did mention Alex Gustafson. Alex Gustafson is great. He's Chase Elliott's crew chief. He can't do miracles with Josh Berry. So if he's going to be penalized 4 races, which is probably going to happen, I think there is going to be, they called it a disclaimer. I forget what he called it, but it would be Hendrick asking, can Alex Gustafson start this week? Because he can't do anything with Josh Berry. So, oh yes, it could happen. But I know the slim possibilities. So, but anyway, poor Josh Berry, he would just be, and Josh is new to the car, so he could work with any crew chief. Alex Gustafson's superb. He's worked with Jeff Gordon and Jimi Hendrick. See, I put the team owner and Jimmy Johnson, and he can work with just anybody and be great. So anyway, so that would be interesting to see. And you're right. I mean, when the boss is not there, and they pick, I don't, Bob has already guessed 2 of the 4, and he's just guessing. Hendrick hasn't announced it, but Bob guessed 2 people that were previously crew chiefs in certain certain situations. Let me go. I'm gonna. I keep getting noises on my phone, and I thought I deleted the. Anyway, let me scroll down. So yeah, here it says Hendrick will not ask for a deferral in crew chief suspensions for this weekend at Atlanta, but will appeal the penalty. I don't understand if that means the crew chiefs will be there or the crew chiefs won't be there. I don't know what the deferral means. I think the default is crew chiefs show up during an appeal. And I think they would, if they asked for a deferral, it would be for Alex Gustafson. They would say, can we do it? And I'm not making that up. Bob, again, has written that too. He's not like me, but sometimes he can send 50 tweets in a day. So I could never scroll. I mean, I'd be not while I'm here. When I'm not streaming, I might do it. So there's that. So anyway, the other thing, okay, there's the two he guessed. So Bob Pockris says Greg Ives and Kevin Meandering would be two that I think could fill in. And that's only 2 of 4, and those are probably the 2 most famous. So and most experienced and stuff. So that means the other 2 would be less, And if I had to pick, obviously number 9 won't get anybody substantial, of course, because it's Josh Berry. So I mean, I don't, William Byron. Oh, it also depends if these people have worked with these drivers in specific. But I would imagine William Byron would get the top crew chief, and then maybe Kyle Larson would get the second, even though he's 3rd in points, and Alex Bowman is number 1 in points before the penalty. So anyway, so that's those 2. So let's go to sorry, let me get back on the screen. If there's anyway, that's my newest Nightbot. I was just using it as a test. There are no links in that. I was just trying to get it set up initially. But as you can say, I'm not going to say only focus on shorts and reels, but I think I'm going to primarily focus on shorts and reels. I don't know. I change my mind every 30 minutes, but what that's, the Nightbot says, please watch the new YouTube Shorts, Facebook page Reels, and Instagram Reels at YouTube, Facebook page, and Instagram, respectively. Links to come. I don't have the links in there yet. Appreciate it, and thanks. So, anyway, I'm always evolving on everything. That's my Nightbot. So, so what is this? Let's go up. So I'm going to, let me come back on screen. The crew chiefs will not be there during the next race. After the next race, Hendrick will appeal. That is what I understood. Oh, really? Okay. Wow. Maybe that's what they mean by the deferral. I would say that's different than I'm used to happening in NASCAR. But I mean, anything can happen, and NASCAR and Hendrick probably can, say, hey, can we do this? And can we, if they win the appeal, they won't get those. They don't get credit back that crew chiefs can now go to a race. So that's why usually the crew chiefs always show up. And just in case they win the appeal, so that there's no way to pay them back. There's no way to say, oh, we'll let you do an extra race as a crew chief. So that's the reason that crew chiefs aren't normally, that crew chiefs, everything remains the same during an appeal. And that's the reason why. But I know some people are very efficient and effective at research, and they're really good at what they do. And they can, disseminate words, and so I assume exactly what was said and stuff. So I believe you, but that's just not very normal. So the crew chiefs will not be there during the next race. After the next race, Hendrick will appeal. Now, as far as appealing goes, either they appeal or not. And so if they appeal, they've already done it. Appeal doesn't mean that they're at court. That just means we appeal the decision. Then there's a delay of not much of a delay. It is usually pretty quick. And again, except for this, what you're mentioning, Liza, maybe there are other delays specific to Hendrick and specific to, their situation. But usually the whole thing is completely resolved with a decision from the appeal court. Everything's resolved usually within a week and a half. I mean, and every day seems like a week. So that's why I'm like, oh, it seems like 3 weeks, but usually it's pretty compact. So, but that depends. I mean, the appeal, the appeal court or board or whatever, they're volunteers, or not volunteers, but I think we've been told, I think they get paid $500 a year or something. So it's ridiculous how little they get paid. So, and they're old curmudgeons generally. So, they may have, they might be retired, but they probably have another job. So they can't just jump at the moment's notice. But I thought that was what you read. Maybe not. No clue. Oh, I might have, the deferral. I don't understand that word. You would have I thought that was what you read. Maybe not. No clue. Yeah, I think the deferral has a double negative. Yeah, let's go back there. That's a great point. So, full screen layout. So I'm going to be off screen for you, but now I'm going to go off screen so I can't see your comments. So Bob Pockris there, the 3 words, it says Hendrick will appeal. I mean, will. Anyway, I think these are word semantics. I mean, Hendrick must decide if they're appealing or not within a certain day or 2 or 3. So they have to say, yes, we do appeal. So when Bob Pockris says Hendrick will appeal, it's not will. The future word will is when they're in court. The present word Hendrick does appeal is when they make the decision. So they have already appealed in my mind. Again, that's word semantics, I think. So, but they have to decide within a day or 2. So they've already decided they will appeal. So now this deferral, I think it's a double negative. I think it's, let me read it again. Hendrick will not ask for a deferral in crew chief suspensions for this weekend at Atlanta, but will appeal the penalty. Now, on the surface, it does sound like that's saying they're not going to ask for a deferral, so the 4 crew chiefs will be suspended. That's what that sounds like. So I guess I did read it, but I'm thinking it's a double negative. I think I'm pretty sure for appeals. Anyway, I'll stop because I guess I don't know enough about everything. We'll see soon enough what happens. But it will be interesting for sure. Let me get off. Let me get it. So there you go. So yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I can get all uptight about my OCD and knowing everything perfectly. And, I just, probably in a week and a half, probably in a week and a half, it will be completely resolved and done and decided and everything. And then people will be, so anyway, I mean, and, I'm not going to say that they're in bed with each other, but I assume Hendrick can ask NASCAR some inside questions. And I think they could probably say, oh, also the appeal board has nothing to do with NASCAR. They're not associated. NASCAR has no control over the appeal board, and the appeal board has no control over NASCAR. They're completely separate, understandably, but they're everything. They're NASCAR officials and ex team owners. It's anonymous. They rarely tell us who they are, but it does come out who they are. But anyway, so NASCAR Incorporated, the sanctioning body, can't really guess what's going to happen with the appeal board. But I would assume that, Hendrick could probably call them up, Steve Phelps or Steve O'Donnell, and say, hey, I'm trying to decide on Alan Gustafson. Should I start the penalties, the suspensions this weekend, or do you think it might be overturned? And again, they can't answer that, but I bet they can do something like that. And then they go, okay, we'll just start it, So, but again, that can't be refunded to them. If they start the suspension and the appeal is, if the appeal is won, so the decision is overturned, the penalty is overturned, they can't get a refund. It's not like they can give them an extra race. So that's the reason that usually, again, I might be wrong, that everything stays the same. Anyway, okay, so I was going to show the points. Oh, yeah, let me go back to the points. Bob Pockrass is a wealth of information. I hope you all enjoy him as much as I do. I really enjoy him. I really enjoy him. So, okay, so I'm going to go over the points. And this is a rerun. And I was going to show, let me look what's up here. So that's points report, which is drivers, and that's points report, which is owner points. And, because of Chase Elliott being out of the car, his car is now doing different things. Chase is no longer the same rank as his car, whereas the other three cars, the driver and the car, have the same points. So owners and drivers are the same. Chase is the only exception. I was going to go over those, but those aren't that critical. NASCAR, it's just, colleague, I'm sorry, I didn't mention colleague. I read it, that Justin Haley, who drives for colleague, he was penalized. And I didn't get all the details yet, but I'm assuming most likely the colleague buys parts from Hendrick, or parts are supplied by Hendrick. I mean, I read it earlier and I tried to butcher it. It's most parts on NASCAR Cup Series cars these days is provided by whatever that one is, one party supplier, so that all teams get the exact same piece. So if colleague is getting the exact same penalty, that means they had a louvre, most likely, unless they just, miraculously did a very similar penalty to have the same penalties, but completely different. So I assume their louvre was same modification. So, I was saying that colleague probably buys parts from Hendrick, which they may, but for this was supplied by a one-party supplier. Everybody gets the same piece. So somehow colleague's car got the same modification that the Hendrick cars. I don't know if they share an engineer, or I don't know how that happened. So that's probably what happened there. And that's too bad. I mean, Justin Haley, who I really like, and I like colleague too. Colleague's really cool. But he had 60 points. So he now has negative 40 points. They go negative. That's really wild. I thought they would zero out, but I mean, you obviously have to go negative, but that's really wild that he has negative 40 points. He's 49th in points out of probably 49 drivers that receive points. There's probably drivers below him that don't get. Anyway, that's too complicated. So he's 49th in points. But yeah, let me go to the points here, and then I'll probably finish up on this thing. I didn't expect to talk. I thought it was going to be less than an hour, so I apologize for that. So full page layout, and then I'm going to go. So I'm off the screen for you, and now I'm going to go off screen for me. So right there, it says Bob Pockrass updated Cup grid, and it starts with Harvick, and then the next tweet says, Gibbs minus 17. So that's the two I'm going to focus on, mostly on the second one. That's the most enjoyable one there. So for some reason, I don't quite get this, why Harvick is number one at plus 75. Normally, all the winners are at top. If you win, you're in. You can point yourself in, but not, I guess 75 points is more than 2 races. I don't know. I don't know why he's number one. So anyway, Harvick plus 75, Byron, 2 wins, Busch 1 win, Stenhouse 1 win, and then Chase Chastain does points. Anyway, I mean, we can go to Hamlin. Hamlin got minus 25 points, I think. So he's 12. But anyway, the second tweet is the most important to me. Anyway, it shows, Gibbs. Anyway, just the fourth name over. Bowman 23rd, and then 3 more names. Elliott 26th, 4 more names. Byron 29th, and then 4 more names. Larson 32nd. So it's Bowman 23rd, Elliott 26th, Byron 29th, Larson 32nd. What blew me away and was just, I was like, OMG, I can't believe that happened, and it didn't. I know I'm extreme, but it almost happened. Sorry, I'm not on the screen. Let's see here. But it almost happened in that Chase Elliott is out 2 races, and he was almost the highest ranking Hendrick driver. Now, is this null and void? Like it's going to be appealed, so everybody's going to get all their points back, or is he's second from top? So anyway, let me just I just said them, but I forget what they are. So 23rd. Bowman's 23rd, and then Elliott's 26th. So he's only 3 behind him. So minus 20. So he's only 5 points behind Bowman. And then, of course, he's, lots of points ahead of Byron, but Byron has wins, so it doesn't matter. And then he's 12 points ahead of Larson, who's been doing really well this year, or, relatively well. He's been battling Byron, second for a lot of races. So 23rd, and then 26th for Elliott, 29th for Byron. 30, and it's not really 29th for Byron. He's really number 2. And then Larson 32nd. So anyway, that's where my OCD goes. And like I said, this is review, but versus for Atlanta. Oh, I didn't read all these yet. So Bob Pockra says, would think, I'm going to go off screen in case. Okay, I'm going to do full screen layout just in case you all want to read it or can read it. So I start at the bottom and work up. That's the newer, 51 minutes ago. So Bob Pockra says, okay, I guess there's a question. So I guess we have to read the question. So Bobby Trifster says to Bob, when will we know appeals panel? Is the HMS penalty appeal 1 appeal, or is it per car? So technically 4 appeals. And now that I see that as a question, and HMS is Hendrick Motorsports, and I do remember specifically that one of the appeals board person was an ex-Hendrick. I do know that. I mean, they have to take from the industry, but anyway, I don't think that's what he's asking. When will we know appeals panel? Is the HMS penalty appeal 1 appeal, or is it per car? So technically 4 appeals. And then Bob says, would think it will be 1 appeal panel for all 4 appeals. NASCAR doesn't release appeal members' names until after the appeal is heard. Date TBD. And then Bob Pockras for Colleague. Colleague Racing expects to appeal the penalty. Expects to. So I guess they don't have, I guess they can still do it in the future. I don't know what the deadline is. I really do think they have a day or 2 to do it. But anyway, Colleague Racing expects to appeal the penalty. Still TBD on request for crew chief suspension to be deferred pending appeal process. So, okay, I guess this is the same deferral. So I guess I'm basically incorrect. So yeah, I guess it's not during appeals, everything stays the same, but it's usually the way it always goes. So I guess you have to ask for a deferral, but you're always given a deferral when asked for. Or it used to be, I guess things could start being different and new today and stuff. So anyway, let me just go through my tabs. I think I've done everything. Cup points report, Cup owners points, NCAA basketball, Hendrick colleague penalized. I think we covered that enough. Even Denny Hamlin we covered. Bob Pockrass is a rock star. TikTok, as always, somehow Supercars is triple the Chase Elliott video. I don't get that. Why is it triple? That is so bizarre. So likewise on Instagram, Supercars, which Supercars is international and it's, based out of Australia. So maybe Instagram is international and TikTok is international because it's in China. I don't know why it's triple Chase Elliott. It seems like it would be less than Chase Elliott, but at the very least, just the same. So anyway, that's bizarre. So the one thing I was going to go back to, what was it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, let me just check for sure. Yeah, so now it's back up as the point. The qualifying order. So there's always some interesting questions. A lot of times the questions are like what I would ask, if I, by the way, Liza, I don't know if you have any comments or questions or anything about all this stuff, but feel free to jump in there if you'd like. A lot of times the questions are, kind of anal, like I think, and, it's a lot of the, anyway. So Informed Canadian says, Bob, if the suspected parts never even made it to an actual race, why the penalty? They can put whatever illegal parts they want on a car as long as it's not actually raced. No, as Canadians are famous for saying. And Bob says, no, which I didn't know this. This is a good point. I like this point. No, NASCAR considers once a car is in garage, it must have legal parts and pieces. Rule. All race equipment, included but not limited to vehicles, vehicle parts, equipment, and our fuel, is subject to inspection by NASCAR at any time, manner, and location as determined by NASCAR. I mean, that's a cool question, because, a lot of times I've heard from the older NASCARs, they say, we put it together and we race it. And if we're not racing, we're not racing, So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that it's a good question. So anyway, so that's it for Bob. So I think I'm going to head out. I just wanted to cover this pretty quickly. I'm going to try to do I got too much to do. I'm going to try to do an IMSA Sebring International Raceway down in Florida stream sometime today, hopefully, or at least tomorrow. And then I want to do 3 shorts for Haas, who has still been caught making money from Russia. So that's going to be a big problem this weekend. So Haas is number 1, even though the American team, OMG. So Haas, and then Mercedes is way out of whack for Formula One. And then Ferrari, OMG. Ferrari fires everybody last year. I mean, the most stressful job in the world is being in charge of Ferrari. And all the teams are based out of UK, except Ferrari's based out of Italy. There's some exceptions, but and for Italy, the most important person in Italy is, of course, you can guess, the Pope, and the second most important person in the country of Italy is who runs Ferrari. It's like it's a religion. It's a I don't mean that. Sorry, I didn't mean to say religion, but so it's extremely stressful. And they get paid the most money. All the teams get paid out every year, but Ferrari, they're the first and original, so they get a higher percentage. They're doing the exact same thing as the other teams, but they get a higher percentage because they're number 1. Anyway, being the team principal, the top person, and so they fire all these people last year, and they come out of the gates exactly the same as last year, and they have a failed engine exactly last year. And they have Chase Leclerc, which I just saw. I saw some quick notification. They don't stay on my screen long enough for me to read it the whole time and disseminate it. But I just saw Chase. I'm sorry, Charles Leclerc. That's the name I've been trying to say, but I think I kept saying Chase. So Charles Leclerc races for Formula One and F1. He got a penalty. I don't know what for, but he got a penalty. So Ferrari fires Matteo Benito, and that wasn't the problem. They still have the same old problem. So I don't know what's going to happen to them. Anyway, I want people to compete with Red Bull. I want people to compete with Max. And anyway, this isn't about Formula One, so I'll move on. So those will be shorts. And did I say Ferrari? Yeah, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Haas. And then tonight is the basketball. So I do a pre-thing for the basketball. And then, so that's why IMSA may not happen today. But if I can, oh, no. Golly, I can't do it at all. Yeah, the basketball is like in an hour or less or something like that. I don't know the exact time. 6:30 is broadcast, or 6. One of the pre-broadcasts is 6, and then the broadcast is 6:30, and tip is 6:40. So that's an hour and 30 minutes. So yeah, I won't do IMSA today. Maybe after the games, but that would be midnight. So yeah, IMSA is probably tomorrow. I want to do IMSA because they have Theowek and it's Sebring. I usually go to Sebring in Sebring, Florida, and that's a good race, and I miss it. I miss all the races I'm not going to. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so thank you for everybody that has come. I'm going to just type that. I can't see my thank you, Lizabelle. And everyone. Lizabelle and everyone. Like I said, I write one sentence and it goes out to 4 people. So I just to do the big shout out for all of them. Again, I streaming on my laptop right now and see StreamYard. I don't know if I'm going to focus on shorts as the primary or only thing. Ciao. Thank you, Lizabelle. Thanks for coming. Hope you feel better. Thank you for all the links. And, I was aware of everything, but you have all the very detailed links. So that was great about Denny and Hendrick and all of them. I try to see all the links. I try to. I think I have, but I think I have for the last 3 weeks. I think before that I was like, whoa, these are too overwhelming. But I try to look at every link for sure. So anyway, I'm going to go in the direction of shorts, but I'm going to still do lives. I'm still figuring out how to. So anyway, StreamYard, I, of course, try to do 8 streams as I always do, and I got 7. So a shout out and thank you to Facebook profile, Facebook page. I have both. Facebook page also has the reels on it, if you can check that out. LinkedIn profile, thank you very much. And then my 2 YouTube channels. Maybe I'll type that out again. Exclamation point YouTube. And did I type that correctly? I did. So that should be coming out shortly. So the 2 YouTube channels, the JoeHart PwD's at 8641. That's my primary one. And then the secondary one, I'll probably need to modify that. I think I need to do it differently than it currently is done. But my backup channel currently is Francis Assistant -NK1GC, as in Francis Assistant Nancy, Kevin, 1, George, Charlie. And I would appreciate subscriptions on both. That would be so super cool. And in Twitch, you're reliable, you're dependable. I don't know much about you. I'm not young. I'm not a gamer, but I'm trying to figure y'all out. And in Twitter, I attempted to go to 2 accounts and I'm only going to 1 account. So I need to figure that out. Maybe I'll think of it this time. I keep saying I want to get rid of the one and add another one, and maybe I'll do it this time. So anyway, to all and everybody, ciao. But anyway, yep. Tonight will be for the basketball. I do a pre-show, so I know I keep saying 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and then I go over. But I hope to do 30 minutes, 60 minutes. We'll see how it goes. So, okay. So I'm going to hit end broadcast twice in 3, 2, 1. And now I'm going to hit it one more time, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to check my destinations or platforms. So the comments will still be working. And then after I check them for 5 or so minutes, then I would exit, leave the studio. Okay. So in 3, 2,